Favorable report is amended and adopted.
Recognize the gentleman from Carver, the maker of the.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do have just a couple of questions, if I may, before I offer the amendment, because I do have an amendment for the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam
Floor
Speaker.
leader, go ahead.
Good
Hello,
morning.
good friend.
Good morning. And I did share the amendment with the floor leader in advance as soon as I got it, so hopefully seems pretty straightforward.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the community schools, I was doing some research on them, and they are interesting. I know they're a relatively new concept, and they're expanding across the state. And it looks like the concentration of poverty grants weren't completely spent, and they were obviously designated in large part to community schools, among other things. Is there, and it seems like House Bill 200 is trying to provide additional guidance for how to do that. Is there a reason just that you were given in committee as to why the money wasn't spent that was provided to those community schools?
Yes, so thank you for the question, and also I want to thank you again for getting that amendment in advance. So to your point, what this bill sets out to do in light of the fact that all the funds weren't expended is to give much more support at the state level, because MSDE, we want there to be a director of community schools that is providing support. As you can imagine, people are coming to the community schools coordinator role with various gifts. Some people already have a lot of partnership potential within their, personal Rolodex. And then some are emerging professionals. So we saw fit through this to give much more state level support, but then also creating a unified needs assessment that would be the same across every community school across the state to help us identify what are the needs in that particular school. Every school doesn't have the same needs, even though they have the same high level of poverty, right? And so it's important to have that school family speak into what is truly needed, and I think we'll have more efficient spending of the funds because we'll have a more unified report out of what is needed.
Got it. And then it appears that from the bill and community schools that part of the goal is to provide in communities that are, for lack of a better term, very disadvantaged and poor, more wraparound services, because obviously there are many other potential issues that come with those communities where the children need additional services for whatever reason. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. So I'm going to offer the amendment. There's an amendment at the desk, Madam Speaker.
I don't have it, so.
It's there.
Go.
I promise. No, I understand. I was just waiting for the approval to speak for that. So it's amendment number HB 200-623-528-1.
Amendment number 1.
Moves much be considered the reading of the amendment, Madam Speaker.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So the amendment at the desk, and this amendment, is very straightforward. It says that we have a star rating system in Maryland, and that star rating system rates the schools in the state from 1 to 5 stars. A 5-star school is an amazing school, and a 1-star school is a failed school. Statewide, according to the Maryland State Department of Education, there are at least 25 1-star schools. And those 25 1-star schools are failed schools. We know they are because there's literally no learning that's occurring. We know this because of testing, which is how we decide whether or not people are learning. And so this amendment requires the superintendent and the administrators in the county in which the school is located to notify all the parents in the 1-star school that their children are attending a failed school and they have an opportunity to continue to attend that school, or they can go to a school of their choice, public, private, charter, etc. In addition to that, this amendment has one additional point to it, which is very important. And that is, the amendment has a military boarding option emphasis on the word option, for children who are habitually violent and disruptive in the classroom. In that particular case, the amendment says that the superintendent or administrators may, not shall, may notify the parents of those children of an opportunity to attend a military boarding school, which the school system will pay for, because they believe, the superintendent and or the administrators believe, that is the best choice for that particular student. We talk about the school to prison pipeline, which is what happens when you're going to a failed school and you're not learning. I mean, what kind of opportunity do you have if you can't properly read or do simple math? The chances are pretty good you're going to enter a life of less opportunities and potentially a life of crime, potentially. Moreover, I would like to add this. In the book, The Other Wes Moore, the autobiography by Maryland's governor, Maryland's governor writes that when he was in middle school, his mother determined that he was hanging out with the wrong crowd and headed in the wrong direction. And so she enrolled him in Valley Forge Military Academy. And he credits that with changing and saving his life. He's now the governor of Maryland. I agree with the governor. There are certain situations, and we know this because we all talk to teachers and we all talk to parents, whereby there are children whose lives would be changed and saved as a result of having this opportunity. The concentration of poverty grants in Maryland, which help fund these things, aren't even fully spent. In fact, the money continues to roll over in the counties and Baltimore City, and the money has equaled, that is rolled over $10 million of unspent money. How many lives could we have changed and saved with that money? When I presented this in the past, Strong Schools Maryland, the folks who basically parrot for the teachers union at the state level, they said, well, they used Maryland's Constitution as the reason why this was a bad idea. I'd like to read to you the wording from Maryland's Constitution. Article 8, Section 1. The General Assembly shall by law establish throughout the state a thorough and efficient system of free public schools. I'm sorry, but you are not free if you are stuck in a failed school. The school that you are stuck in is not efficient if it is failed and you're not learning. The school that you're stuck in that is failed is not thorough. And this has been going on for far too long, since the Thornton Commission, for God's sakes, for over 20 years. It's time to offer school choice to the children that are in those one-starred failed schools, and in addition to that, a military boarding option for the children who are habitually violent and disruptive, so that we can change the course of their lives and give them the same opportunities that everybody else should have in this great state. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to my colleague for offering his amendment. I must ask that the body resist this amendment. I first want to begin with our Constitution. The most important word in the passage that was cited by my colleague was public education. And so I want to remind the body that, first of all, as a matter of policy, we do not add other bills that are currently being considered by the General Assembly by amendment to other legislation. This amendment is essentially House Bill 27. But secondly, what this bill sets out to do is essentially privilege private education with public dollars, and that is not the best use of public dollars. What we're endeavoring to do with community schools is ensure that every Maryland student, regardless of zip code, has access to the tools that they need, not only individually, but as a family and community, to be successful as they matriculate through their education. So I do ask the body to resist this amendment.
Madam
Thank
Speaker.
you.
Gentlelady from, where's she from?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I love this amendment. I think it's beautiful, and I enjoyed the words of my colleague from Southern Maryland. And I do find it a little interesting that we're claiming that we can't use public monies for a private school because we actually already do that in Maryland. Many children in Maryland who have IEPs that can't be serviced in our public schools, in fact, go to private schools to get the services and the care that they actually need because our state is failing to provide an adequate education to these children. In fact, we passed a bill, I think it may have been the chair's bill actually, yesterday, that allowed for us to give monies to families to sue our school systems for their utter failures for IEP policies. So, it's really kind of fallen on deaf ears, y'all. We already do it. It can be done. It saved the governor. It saved the governor's life. He knows it saved him. He put it in his flipping book. This is an option for children who are struggling terribly. It's an option they should have. It's really a civil rights issue to trap these children in these schools. That's what it really is. So, please don't come at us with the Constitution and we can't do it because it's public funds. We're already doing it. Let's do it for the kids who
Floor
need it the
leader.
most.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will definitely come at everyone in this room with the Constitution because we're bound to uphold it. It's really important for us to do that. But I do want to also lift up that public schools have to take all students, no matter their conditions, no matter what they're coming to them with, whether they're cognitive or physical disabilities. Unlike private schools that, quite frankly, can refuse to teach and educate people that have certain unique and profound needs. So public schools, because they have to educate everyone, there are instances where needs are so profound and so specific that they do have to outsource to private schools that have chosen to make that something they specialize and support. So I just want to make sure we're on the amendment and focusing on the fact that this amendment is doing two things. One, it's trying to add a bill that's currently being considered to this bill, and it's secondly focusing on privileging public dollars for private schools. I again ask the body to resist this amendment.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand in support of this amendment because it asks us and all of us to answer one basic question. Are we making measurable progress? That's all life asks. Are we making measurable progress? That's why those desks and chairs in second grade are so small. You're not supposed to stay there so long. They expect measurable progress. Progress, personal growth, fulfillment. That's what you need for success. Without personal growth, without progress, misery, depression, and helplessness start to set in. A pattern of learned helplessness can destroy a child, a community, a state. Learned helplessness is when something is so bad over and over again, you start to believe the problem is permanent. Doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity. These kids stuck in one-star schools start to recognize a pattern of failure all around them. Unfortunately, they start to believe all of this is happening because of them. And we want to get to a point where we destroy that pattern. We have to break this pattern that has become pervasive and is failing children in these schools. No problem is permanent, but we have to interrupt that pattern of learned helplessness. In order to change the trajectory of helplessness and failure, these students and their families need more opportunities and choice. We need to stop the insanity and the destructive pattern of failure, generational poverty, and helplessness. That is all this amendment seeks to do, is give these families and these students and our children a choice when they recognize a pattern of nothing but failure in some of these schools. With that, I push the amendment.
On the amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Roll call.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman
Madam
to
Speaker.
explain his vote.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, to explain my vote, we have these one-star schools, throughout the state. We We have several in Baltimore County. Unfortunately, I have children from my district that attend one of these one-star schools. This is why we need this amendment. This is why we need things like this to occur. You know, this is why we've been fighting in Baltimore County for an adequate public facilities ordinance for a long time, because we have many children that continue to have to go to these habitually failing schools. And to the floor leader, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, Madam, we already do send public money to private schools through boost funding and things like that in the state of Maryland. So I think that this gives another opportunity, another alternative for these children that unfortunately seem to be stuck in this cycle of poverty, the school to prison pipeline, those sorts of things that I think we have to address in other ways. And I certainly appreciate the idea of community schools. I think it's a great idea. I just think that we should have other alternatives as well to confront this serious problem. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from St. Mary's to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I happily vote green on this amendment. I believe everybody in this chamber wants the best schools possible, best schools in the state. But we have a very different way of trying to achieve that. We're now 5 years inside of implementing Kerwin, and I see nothing coming down the pike that's going to make a meaningful impact on improving our schools. The only thing that's coming down the pike is our struggling to pay for it. Struggling to the point where the Ways and Means Committee had a bill hearing 2 days ago on the largest tax increase in Maryland history. Now, kudos to the Ways and Means Committee for at least trying to address this head on and not kicking the can down the road. And as far as this private money, is that really such or private money or public money going to private schools, is that really such a foreign concept? We force private hospitals to take Medicaid recipients. We force landlords to take public money via Section 8 vouchers. We force private colleges to take public money via Pell Grants. We've been doing this for years, and for some reason when it comes to K through 12 and trying to rescue people from the school, sometimes it's not allowed. I don't understand this. This is an important conversation to have going forward, and if the private sector can do things better than the public sector, we absolutely should explore that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay. Gentleman from Baltimore County to explain your vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to explain my vote briefly. I'm going to support this amendment because what you're really coming at us with is the theft of the educational opportunities of students, thousands of students, year after year after year after year. In Baltimore County, the proficiency rates are abysmal. Less than 40% of all students can read at a third grade reading level. I'm going to say that again. Less than 40% of all students can read at a third grade reading level. We have high school students that don't know their letters and numbers. It's horrific. The academic retention and achievement is going in the toilet, and what we need is accountability. You've talked to those students who take the boost funding just like I have, and you've heard their stories, and what they say is, I hated my school. I hated, that's the word they use. They use the word hate. I hated going to my school. And these one-star schools, they're stuck. I have these schools in my district just like you do. So I think when you vote today on this amendment, you should think of those students who've come to talk to you about being stuck and need an opportunity for the educational opportunities that every student in the state should have.
Madam Speaker.
Chairman of the committee.
I want to explain my red vote. My red vote is for facts. The fact is we're in the third year, not the fifth, for third fiscal year of the blueprint. The fact is we now have 19,000 kids in dual enrollment on the blueprint. The fact is we have a dramatic increase in pre-K from the blueprint. And the fact is that we have $360 million in concentration of poverty grants, which, oh no, I guess 10 million of it has been rolled over. What a tragedy. So my vote is for public education, and that's why I cast a red vote.
Thank you, Matt.
Gentleman from Calvert. Gentlelady from Baltimore County, since he sat down.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to explain my green vote. We do make non-public school placements. We know that we do that for kids that need help. It happens regularly. And this is just another opportunity to do that. As a former educator, I can tell you that every year lost for kids, especially in the early years, sets them back exponentially. So let's give all of our kids a chance. You know, I look around on this floor and I know everyone here is committed to making sure our kids get a great education. And some people here send their kids to private school. Let's give other kids the same opportunity. Let's call this the Westmore Opportunity Amendment that allows kids to go to schools that will give them a bright future. I urge agreeing.
John Lay from Harvard.
Thank you,
to
Madam
explain
Speaker.
her vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I don't usually get up on the floor, but I had the opportunity to peruse the library, and to explain my green vote, I had the opportunity at the library to watch Waiting for Superman. And basically it's about Geoffrey Canada, who created the Harlem Children's Zone. And I just Googled to make sure that it was kind of up to date. Barack Obama created the Promised Neighborhoods Initiative to replicate his work with the Harlem Children's Project. Also, most of the children that go to this, that they go to the school and it stays within their community, and it's kind of like a boarding school, but they go back to their homes during the weekend. The point is, most of these kids go on to a college education and beyond to professions, and it's over 90%. And I mean, I can't give this gentleman the credit that he honestly deserves on this floor, but basically we need options. And the point is this man has been able to do this one school at a time. And I think we really need to think about this and give options to children and options to their parents. So we really need to do innovation. Public school does not fit all the children. One size does not fit all. So that is why I'm voting green on this amendment. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore County,
Thank
explain
you.
his vote.
To explain my vote, I vote no on this amendment because this amendment is on a bill that was crafted carefully to help community schools be more effective in the way the funding runs for students. And to vote for this amendment would be to undermine those good efforts. Community schools pointed all students of need at one time, and it has value, and we dare not undermine it at this stage. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further debate? Clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading.